You are listening to Productivity Straight Talk with your host, Amber De La Garza. Amber is a sought-after productivity coach, trainer, speaker, and writer who gives entrepreneurs the straight talk on personal productivity. No BS, fluff, or overused jargon. Just actionable strategies to get results and succeed in business. And here is your host, Amber De La Garza, the Productivity Specialist.
Welcome, and thank you for listening to Productivity Straight Talk. Today is episode 97, Productivity Pitstops, smart stops on your journey to the top. If you are an entrepreneur who wants actionable solutions to maximize profits, reduce stress, and make time for what matters most, then you're in the right place, and I'm so glad you've joined me. My goal today is for you to consider some pit stops that you should be making to kick your productivity up a notch and enable greater growth in your business. I'm looking forward to bringing this episode to you because you will discover how your entrepreneurial journey is like a road trip, 5 productivity pit stops you could benefit from today, ways to shave minutes to hours off of every single day, app suggestions to help you keep your productivity on point, and so much more. So let's dive right in and get straight to it. Okay, so today we're talking all about productivity pit stops. And I think before I dive into some productivity pit stops that will serve you well in your business, I want to first start off with my definition of productivity. We have so many new listeners that I'm so grateful for, but I'm not certain that I have shared my definition of productivity. And I think it's important when I am teaching you things and talking about things regarding productivity that everyone is on the same page. So first, my definition of productivity is investing your best time into your best activities. And sometimes when we're building our businesses, our best activities are sometimes hard to nail down, or they feel like they're ever moving, or we're not really sure what activities will actually move the needle forward. For others, it's very, very, very clear what their high value activities are, and yet they're choosing not to be productive for various reasons. Now, I want to start off with that because even if you have your own definition of productivity, if for just when you're listening to me on this podcast, I'm going to invite you to be open to my definition because productivity is not the same as being efficient and it's not the same as being organized. Those things are here to help us be most productive. They are here to support us in making our best choice of choosing to be most productive. And what I find is that if working with my clients, both privately and in group settings, and when I teach my master classes, all the different ways that I do help my clients, I have often come across the issue of not wanting to invest in the short term for the long term. And what I mean by that is it seems like it's counterintuitive or counterproductive to slow it down and make investments today for what could reap you really big benefits in the future. One of my favorite quotes is from Jim Rohn, and he says, "Time is our most valuable asset, yet we tend to waste it, kill it, and spend it rather than invest it." And today I want to talk about how can we make these little pit stops and invest our time today to reap rewards in the future. Just to bring this full circle, when we're talking about investing our best time into our best activities, if we are wasting time or have the excuse or reason that we just don't have enough time to do those high value activities that will actually propel us towards our goals, that is an excuse that sometimes is just bullshit. And other times it's because of a lack of efficiency and workflows and systems and organization, right? Because if you are wasting time, if you're spending it and killing time in other areas of your life or business, then you don't really have that time that you could otherwise be investing in your high value activities. So when we talk about these different strategies about building our businesses and having, efficiency and workflows and organization and all the things I love to talk about, the reason those are important is because ultimately it should reclaim time that we can later then reinvest in things that matter most. And as you know, I don't just talk about business. This is really a lifestyle. If you're currently working all the hours in your business to grow your business and keep your business going, maybe you have found that when you get time that you want to reinvest, you want to reinvest it in, your loved ones or yourself, like a hobby, or maybe even it's just more sleep. That if you could create more efficiency and flow in your business, that you would want to reallocate that time to something as simple as sleep. Because unfortunately, when I speak, I ask this question almost every single time. And I say, if I could wave a magic wand and give you back 3 to 5 hours a week, what would you do with it? And unanimously, hands down, the number one answer is more sleep. So why I'm telling you all of this is because I want you to be thinking of the long-term benefits of being productive, the long-term benefits of being effective and efficient and organized is truly so that we can attain our goals at a much more effective way, right? It's not going to be the long way. It's not going to be the way where we feel like we are banging our heads against the wall, because there's so much wasted time. Now, there are enough challenges being an entrepreneur. How do you market and get in front of the right person? And what's the messaging? And how do you package? And what is your pricing? And really, it's endless, all the questions and things that we need to figure out as business owners. But what I don't want is that you, or lack of skill set, right, of knowledge, getting in your own way of success. And so I'm going to share with you some common ways, some ways that I think that are maybe not common, but are great ways to have these little pit stops. I want you to think of when you went on a road trip and you went from where you're currently at to where you're going. So we'll call it from A to B. And between A and B, chances are you needed to stop and go to the bathroom or rest if it was a long trip, or perhaps put gas in the car, get a snack. Chances are you didn't go straight through. And if you did, that means the trip probably wasn't that far. So I want you thinking like big road trips. Also, I'm not really into racing cars, but they have pit stops as well. They're changing the tires and checking the fuel levels, and they're making sure that that car is able to run at optimal. And I want to make sure that you are running at your optimum as well. So I'm going to share with you 5 productivity pit stops that if you really challenge yourself and you hold yourself to, thinking not just for today and what are the immediate rewards of how you're investing your time, but what are the long-term benefits of these pit stops, I think you're going to see that you are going to make an investment that will reap rewards, meaning multiply. So a little time invested now will give you much more time in the future. Here we go. Productivity pit stop number 1 is create email templates. Now, I am a huge proponent of this, and personally a huge proponent because it takes me forever to write an email. It takes me forever to craft the right verbiage. It takes me forever to edit and re-edit. I don't see my own typos. And so I clearly knew that early on I needed to create templates to start as a basis to create more efficiency in the future. But what that means is that I am slowing down to really think about what it is I want to say, so that when in the future, when it's appropriate, I will reuse that email as a basis. One of my favorite hacks for using an email template is, let's just say you commonly send out an email to a new client, and there's like 5 things that you could possibly say to them, but it's never, maybe it's 2 of the 5 one time and 3 of the 5 the other time and 5 out of 5 the next time, because the situation's changed just a bit. My favorite way to create a template is saying, okay, so in best case scenario, I would need to tell a client all 5 of these things. And so I would write the email template with all 5 things, whether it's bullet points or paragraphs explaining things, so that this is a very robust email, because it is a lot quicker to then delete what you don't need in the future than to build upon a very scarce and simple email template. So I like my emails to be, really robust and kind of handle multiple situations so that I can kind of use paragraphs as a plug and play. One of the other things that I like to do or think of when creating email templates is, first of all, I don't think that it's always easiest to just sit down and say, okay, I need an email template for this, and this scenario, and then write it. What I like to do, and seems to be also a big time saver, is when the opportunity comes up that you're going to write an email and you realize, oh yeah, I'm probably going to be writing this email again. Or, oh my gosh, I've written this email or some variation of it like 5 or 6 times. That's a real good sign that a template could really serve you well so you're not starting from scratch. So when those situations come up, I want you to slow it down and think, how can I make this very kind of generic? And I don't mean generic in a bad way. I just mean that there's no customization to the exact situation you're in. You're more taking it a step back and saying, okay, when this happens and I need to respond or I need to send an email, what is it that I want to say? And then create that as the template, because then when you use that as a basis, you can do a little customized intro or outro or tweak a few things. And it's a lot quicker to tweak things as you go than it is to start from scratch. So that is one of my favorite ways to save time, because I think that the same situations come up frequently in our businesses. I like to use an app called Text Expander, and we will have that linked out into the show notes, but I also have it on my toolbox page on my website. So if you go to theproductivityspecialist.com/toolbox, you can see a link to all my favorite apps. And one of them is definitely Text Expander. And what that does is catalog all of my template emails to where I can do a quick search. Or if I memorize the little code, so if you can create any code you want, I just type that code and auto-populates anywhere. So it's not just like in Word or Excel, but you could be online, you could be in social media, and so it'll expand out anything that you've pre-programmed it to say. And so I'm explaining that because you can use it in far more ways than just emails, but you can use it for anything that you are typing repetitively in your days. But I do like to use it as a place to house my templated emails. Okay, so now, why is that a pit stop? Because I think that when we're in the moment and when we were putting out a fire or being really reactive to a situation, we just want to get that email out. And I understand that, like, that's the real world of running a business. But I want you to slow it down and think of, how is this impacting in the future? So is this something that will slow you down in the future? And if it is, I want you to just take those few moments to slow it down and think of, how can I create this into a template to be used later? Now the time invested in responding or sending your client an email is actually an investment. Okay, so that brings me to productivity pit stop number 2. Unsubscribe from unwanted emails. Okay, this may seem like an obvious one, but it's not obvious to everyone, because I know you're doing it. You think that it's easier just to keep hitting delete, 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 and just like someday maybe you'll want to read them. This is a really good way of ensuring that just for those moments, somebody's not distracting you. They're not in your inbox taking up prime real estate, and that when you jump into your inbox, it's only emails that you really want to be having your focus and attention on. So what I recommend is that you take the few moments to slow it down, look for the unsubscribe link, and unsubscribe. Now, I have a favorite app that I use as well and that I recommend frequently, and that is unroll.me. It's UNROLL.me. Now, I'm not a promoter of this. I'm a user of this. I have had many clients use it and it's worked really well for them. So just go to their website, read it. It's free. And so you know that if it's free, you are the product and you are giving them access to comb through your emails. And what they do is they take an audit and they spit back a list of everywhere that you are subscribed to. And I did this for my personal email and it came back with, I think, 127 different places places that I was subscribed to. So we're talking newsletters and promotions and you name it. And then what you can do is at a glance, you can select all or select the ones you want to unsubscribe from. So for me, I think I unsubscribed from probably little over 100 all at once. So that goes through the whole list. You decide which ones you want to stay subscribed to. And then you go to the bottom and you hit unsubscribe, and the program goes out in the world and unsubscribes you from all these emails. And then you no longer get the repetitive emails in your inbox. So that is a really quick hack that, while it does take a little bit of time, it's a powerhouse in the fact that you can do all of your unsubscribing at once. Now, if you don't want to use that program, no worries. Just pause. And if you find yourself deleting the email and it's no longer providing you value, take the extra pause or pit stop to go unsubscribe. Pit stop number 3, take a break. No, I am very, very serious. And for those of you that are wearing your badge of honor, that you work right through the day and you don't take breaks and your head is down and you're grinding it out, I'm going to tell you that there was times in my life that I probably would have worn that badge of honor too. But I have done enough of my homework, enough research, and literally been in enough people's worlds and businesses to know that no one can maintain that kind of speed, right? Like go, no breaks. And I know for a fact right now, I can stand on this, is that when you take purposeful breaks and you move your body and you fuel it with food and water, and you also just change your focus. So maybe you're looking at your screens all day, or maybe you talk to people all day and you just need quiet time. When you purposely take your breaks and change it up a bit, you will come back refocused, refueled, and that is powerful for your productivity. Again, I want to circle this back to my definition of productivity, which is investing your best time into your best activities. And your best time is focused, distraction-free time. Right? And when we are tired or exhausted or fatigued or not our best, it is really, really hard to find that best time where we're focused, distraction-free. So next time you're feeling a little bit fatigued or you find yourself distracting yourself, I want you to purposely decide that you're going to take a break. I recommend that your schedule, like your calendar, actually has time set aside for your lunch break. That way you're not overbooking yourself. That way, if someone else is in control of your calendar, they can see when you're unavailable. When you do that and you have a solid workday wrapped around your lunch hour, then you can really guilt-free take your lunch. I also want you to consider the fact that if you're feeling exhausted and fatigued in the afternoon and you felt like the right thing to do was to push through, I want you to experiment with taking an extra long break and maybe doing something that fuels you up and moving your body, having a little dance party. I got to tell you, this is the one productivity pit stop that I am talking to myself about. I can get in my groove and be like, oh, just a little longer, just a little more. But I know that it always serves me well to be able to sustain the day if I take my breaks. Also, it's not just day to day. Another way to consider taking a pit stop would be to ensure that you're taking entire days off of your business or vacation days. This will really allow you to recharge yourself so that you can be your best self to do your best work. Now, that is just a sampling of my opinions about how important it is to take breaks to improve your productivity. But if you want to hear more, I would encourage you to go listen to episode 27, where I do an entire episode about the power of taking breaks and how it truly helps your productivity. Pit stop number 4, turn off your chimes, rings, and dings. Now, why is this a pit stop? Well, because every time you say yes to loading another app on your phone, every time another chime or ring or ding is going off on your computer, it seems like it may be easier just to snooze it or dismiss it. But these chimes, rings, and dings that are all around us everywhere are doing their job. And their job is to disrupt you, to distract you, to get your attention. And again, full circle, investing your best time into your best activities. And your best time is distraction, interruption-free time, so you can get that focused work done. These chimes, rings, and dings are doing their job. Every time an email comes in, beep, every single time, social media update, ring, ding, whatever you have it set on your phone, these are consistent distractions to pull your attention. And so my recommendation is for you to take a few minutes to go onto your phone, go into your settings, and select what apps should really be getting a notification or have notifications on, rather. Okay? So obviously you need your text messages to have notifications. Voicemails, probably notifications. Social media updates, I'm going to say a big no to. Email updates, I'm telling you, a huge no. Shut it down. The sales, like every time I load an app, if I don't think about it at the time, next thing I know, I'm getting a notification on my phone, which reminds me that I need to go back into my settings and shut those notifications off. Now, you may be blown away a bit that I'm telling you to shut off your notifications for email. And I'm telling you to do that on your phone and your desktop. If you are literally like, like a dog when the little chime goes off and you're like literally waiting for that next email to come in to catch your attention, there is no way you're carving out focused, distraction-free time to do your best work. There is an entire way for you to be able to purposely get into your email and process them. I have a whole masterclass about how to conquer your email and strategy specifically so that you are no longer a slave to your inbox. So if that interests you, you can definitely look on my website for my masterclasses and then take advantage of learning some of those strategies. But in the short run, what I want you to think of is how do I ensure that I am not being distracted every single time something lands in your inbox? Okay, so this is a productivity pit stop because I know many of you think it's just easier to hit dismiss, swipe away, you glance at it and you ignore it. But doing this compounded day after day after day is literally stealing time away from you. So take the time to make the investment today for focus in the future. This brings us to productivity pit stop number 5. Create checklists. Oh, do I love some checklists. Now, I personally love checklists. I know that's not everyone's favorite. It may be a bit to do with my personality. I love checklists because it allows me to, and my team, working through a workflow without having to think too hard about what's next. It also allows me to start and stop. So maybe I only have 15 minutes to work on something like producing a podcast episode, right? So not recording, but producing it. And I know that I want to get 15 minutes of work done. Well, with a checklist, I clearly know where I left off to come back to when I have additional time to work on my podcast. But this checklist can honestly be for anything. I have a checklist for when I close out my books and my business. We have checklists for how we come up with new ideas for the podcast. I have a checklist for packing on trips because what I want to do is create efficiency and not slowing down on having to make the decision. Checklists are a really good way of creating efficiency for things that you're doing repetitively in your business. It also allows you to look at it from a different perspective, as in you're not in the middle of, okay, I need to do this. I need to do that. I want to do this. Okay, this should come next. And you're kind of, running by the seat of your pants. If you take the time to really look at what's everything that has to happen, now you can ask questions like, Is that step necessary? Is there duplication or repetitive steps that can be cut out that will create efficiency? You can also be clearly looking at, well, what can I do of this process and what can someone else on my team be doing? Is this step giving us a return on our investment on time? We're often looking at our checklists for social media and podcast promotion and blogging and all these things that have a lot of steps to them. We meaning my team and I, we are looking at, okay, so if there's 30 things to do, are there a couple of these that we can eliminate that are not really giving us a return on our investment on time? When you have your workflows in a checklist like this, and this can be just simple checklists. It could be an Excel, it could be a Word document, like it does not need to be high level. I love using Trello for our checklist. So we use a combination of Trello, and I had graduated from Excel. Like I had always made my checklists in Excel previously. But there's a lot of, techie programs out there that you can get into if you want. But I don't think it needs to be that way. I just think you need to think of something that you're doing in your business on a repetitive basis. If you have a storefront, maybe it's your opening store checklist and it's your closing store checklist. If you do audits, so we do branding audits. And when I say we, it's not we. Crystal's listening to this episode. So I will give all credit to Crystal. Crystal does a branding audit for me once a month. Now, together, we created the checklist of all the places that I wanted her to check to make sure things are on brand. My social media, my website, other places that I'm announced. Like she's searching to make sure that anything in my name or my company's name is all good. So we have a very specific checklist that she just goes straight down and checks once a month as part of the audit. Now, that was created because I was one-off, like checking, is there anything on Yelp? Or, what about here or there? And I realized that this could probably be a process done very efficiently on a monthly basis and not by me if I would just get it out of my head and onto a checklist. So I'm kind of rambling here, but I just wanted to give you some examples of where and why you would use checklists and how an investment in the short run, like today, like slowing it down and asking what are all the steps and all the things that need to happen and how it will create efficiency in the future. You don't need to think about it. You and your team are just going to work right down the checklist. Okay, so I was bringing this episode to you because I think that it's really, really important to think about and have maybe a mindset shift of what am I willing to do now in the short term to reap the benefits in the long term. And when we're currently having inner dialogue like, I don't have enough time, there's never enough time, or you're feeling the stresses and pressure of getting all the things done, then here's my straight talk for you. There is literally no time for you to be wasting with inefficiencies. And when you think you don't have the time in the now, you'll never have time in the future either if you're not going to repair it and fix it now. So I hope that really makes sense to you. I hope you understand what I'm trying to say here. It's really important that you are taking yourself out of the day-to-day of your business and asking yourself bigger and higher level questions and willing to make the investment in what could fix it now for in the future. All right. So today, thank you so much for joining me for today's episode. It has been my pleasure having you listen to this week's Productivity Straight Talk. But I need to be straight with you. While I may have shared some 5 quick ways to have pit stops for investments today to reclaim your time in the future, only you can make the choice of whether you're going to have pit stops. Now, I shared 5. There are so many other ways that you can ultimately invest today to reap the benefits in the future. I want you to think of one thing that you are committed to doing today, like one pit stop that you're willing to do to reap the benefits in the future. And maybe you're like, oh my gosh, yes, I just need to get this thing out of my head. I'm creating my first checklist in my business. Or maybe you're like, oh, Amber, did you really say it was okay to take breaks? The first pit stop I'm taking is to consistently take breaks and schedule that on my calendar. Whatever it is for you, what I know to be true, that is, if you are not so clear with what your next step is, you are going to end this episode. You are going to pull up in your car into the driveway. You're going to pick up your kids. You're going to get off the treadmill, whatever you're doing listening to this episode, and you're going to be on to the next thing. And you owe it to yourself, because you've already invested 30 minutes with me today, for you to decide how are you going to reclaim time by making these investments. I want to thank you so much. I had alluded to this in the beginning of the episode, but Productivity Straight Talk has been growing exponentially. And I know it is only because you are amazing people, amazing listeners, and you are sharing it. You are sharing it with fellow entrepreneurs that you feel would find it valuable. And I don't want you to stop. I am thanking you from the bottom of my heart for sharing Productivity Straight Talk. Another way that I have found that you guys are supporting me and the show is by leaving amazing reviews on iTunes. And this week I have a special thank you going out to Holly EW, who recently said, I love this show. Practical tips on taking action and getting productive. Well, there you have it. In a few simple words, that is my goal on every episode of Productivity Straight Talk. So that's my straight talk for you today. And until next time, have a productive week.